welcome to the Gray Range Podcast. My name is David Roussel. We're going to explore the poetry of how we live, how we learn, and how we find our way along this strange path we call life. If you are curious about people, their stories, and all things savage and wonderful, then join me on the Gray Range. And we're live.
Just like that.
Boom. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Yeah. Another episode of the Gray Range Podcast. So, this time we've got my unofficial co-host, Lucas Orich, and Kenton Osterlund, who's without whose support and enthusiasm, this podcast wouldn't exist. So, when I first floated the idea years ago of having a podcast, Kenton supported the idea, liked the idea, and actually for Christmas bought me these headphones.
He threw down the gauntlet.
Yeah, he called my bluff, and it several years later, moving at official turtle speed, here we are. So, thank you, brother, for believing in me enough to throw down the gauntlet and make it happen, and here we are. So, cheers.
Cheers.
No, absolutely. I remember where you floated the idea, and I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. Like, you've been doing the poetry for 5-6 years at that point. 2016, no, 4 years. But just reading some of the pieces as you were publishing them, I was thinking, yeah, there's some questions that you could ask some interesting people and have some conversations with. You having a podcast was one of those good ideas that needed to be spoken aloud.
Well, I'm glad you spoke up because, I have a lot of ideas that go nowhere and nothing happens. But it's something when somebody believes in you, when somebody throws their support, it doesn't really matter how much it is. It can be something pretty small, but it might click something in you that might not have been there before.
Is there something that inspired you to want to do a podcast specifically?
I think,
like we talked about before, about letting people tell their stories. Otherwise, someone's going to tell it for you. But I'm just wondering, was there like a catalyst moment where you're like, "Oh man, I'm going to do a podcast"?
Yeah, there was some idle curiosity about it. Obviously, I'm a big fan of podcasts. Yeah. Wearing a podcast shirt.
Same here.
Shout out Mike Ritland.
I got Embrace Chaos, Cleared Hot, Andy Stumpf.
Yeah, shout out Andy Stumpf. And
to the party.
As I thought about it, my cousin was actually doing a podcast. My cousin Clayton, he had a podcast for a while, and it kind of was one of those things in the back of my mind as a possibility. And then it kicked around as, well, what would I do and how would it look? Like, what format would it take? And what would make my idea or my podcast unique from, others in the space? There's like 2 million podcasts. What could I do different? And, after a lot of thinking about it, it was like, oh, I'll read a piece of poetry at the beginning of each one to, get the, just get the ball rolling, start a conversation, get things moving and go from there. And I was like, oh, that is kind of unique. I haven't seen that particular format. So I was like, oh, okay, I have a unique format.
Yep.
So there we go. And then I have a lot of people I've met. I've got really cool friends. So I was like, nothing stopping me but me at that point. And then it was just logistical about how do you make a podcast? How do you record a podcast? How do you edit a podcast?
How much fucking cash do I need?
Yeah, exactly.
To buy all
exactly. Yeah.
Cash flow and experience, and cash flow doesn't have to happen all at once, and experience comes little by little. So
that's just it. It's really one of those things. I did have some background. So when I went to college, one of the things I did take, because I was making music at the time, was I did take interactive digital design. I didn't do any video, but I did some audio stuff.
Yeah.
So a little bit of mixing, a little bit of processing, a little bit of recording. that kind of stuff.
And when you went to college, this like podcasting wasn't a thing either. So that, like the
No.
video component is a lot more prevalent now.
No, but it wasn't. There wasn't this barrier of knowledge. This big intimidating. I need to learn how to run the software, or
You need how to learn to write the code for it.
Yeah, like even the equipment. Like it wasn't foreign to me. It was like, oh, I need a mixing board. Oh, I need recording software. Oh, I need mics and mic stands.
Were you the kid in the audio video club at school with the great big handy cam over your shoulder that had a cassette tape in it? Like
No. I had
Not
no
quite that
purpose
far
in
back.
high school. I was a shop class kid until I started smoking dope, and then I was a home ec kid.
Yeah.
Because in
Like
home
an
ec,
eat here.
yeah, in home ec, you could smoke dope, eat food, and that's where all the girls were.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I could sit in shop class, but all the girls are in this other. We spent all our time in the home ec class eating the stuff the girls were making anyway.
Grade 10's best kept secret was
Yeah,
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't remember what grade it was, but that was one of the few life decisions I've made that yielded some benefits.
Nice.
I actually baked bread today because I took a home ec course.
Yeah, man.
But I guess I'll read a piece. I didn't particularly have one picked out. I had kind of a few that might fit the bill.
Bro, there's too many in there.
Yeah, I said there was like 223 during another episode, but there's not. It's like 170 some,
Okay.
which is still a lot. A lot.
That makes it easy.
So I thought I would do something more just like a piece that I enjoy, something that I've wanted to read for a while. And this one's called Traveler Ensnared. I stopped, only with the intent to linger, but for a moment under the light of your wounded moon. I did not expect to be so ensnared by gypsy song and rhythmic dancing, or intoxicated by such beauty. Maybe it was the fortified wine, or mystic whispered, carried on the swirling smoke of hashish mixed with fragrant tobacco, that lured me to take comfort in the arms of your queen. I was a traveler ensnared by ancient architecture and long, languid phrases turned by a tongue I should not have understood. The culture called to me from deep in the annals of time, crumbled incense burned, opium dreams on thick, rich rugs, close enough to hear the oceans beat against the shores of your biblical homeland. Fish and olives, roast lamb and new wine and old ways, resurrected by children under the eastern stars. To my mind, this was my Jerusalem, your Megiddo in summer. Hot and stifling, you wore only your hair, long, and we sweat out every sin our bodies could withstand. They say that I was driven mad by the burning sand and tinctures of cobra venom meant to imbue the mortal man with the capacity to contain the passions of long-dead deities. Madness, though, like you, eluded me. I woke alone, lost in the exquisite tapestry I now found myself woven into. I know not whether I was a beggar or a king, but only that the sun had turned my once pale and youthful skin dark and leathery, like the cover of an old book, and I now contained the mystery I once sought. Returning home, I was a man of forsaken ancestry, cursed by my own discoveries, lost to the world I once knew. Still, I close my eyes and hear the sweet voice that first opened me, the music and the swaying hips that discovered me, and I yearn for death, for surely I have already seen heaven.
Man, at first I was like, this is White Ave in the 90s, but that went to...
No, that touches a few different things. Like the descriptions you can elicit by the way that you weave words. We've had a few conversations. I know you quite well as a person. But every time there's a new piece that I read, like there's a completely different side of you. Just the way that you can craft words and imagery. Like it's very, very powerful.
Was any piece of that influenced by your travel to Spain, like through Europe?
Possibly. This one, I'm not sure where exactly the inspiration for that piece came from.
Yeah.
I know that there was some, you know, I don't think anybody who pays attention to the world doesn't have somewhat of a fascination with the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's somewhere I've never traveled, but there's so much history and so much lore, and it was always a place, especially, you know, the 1800s, where, you know, if you were, the British Empire spreading out and people were bringing back these tales of Persia and bringing back this Middle Eastern history, places, things from Egypt, you know, into the 1900s. And it's always holds this certain type of mystery.
Yeah.
This kind of attractive, seductive foreign idea where it's totally different than where I'm from. And sometimes that's the point of writing stuff like that for me, is to explore an idea that is foreign to what I'm doing or to my life, and to be like, excuse me, what is that? What would that be like? Or what did that sound like? Or what would that feel like? And just imagine it and immerse myself in the idea of it, and then try and, you know, put some words down and see what that's like. But I thought that one might be appropriate because, you know, having, had some travels with you guys,
Yeah.
and you guys are fairly, well seasoned yourselves. You guys have been around. A piece like that kind of invokes that wanderlust a little bit. Foreign lands, different views, new things.
Yeah, world travel's a wild time, man.
Yeah, probably the best investment a young person can make, and one of the few pursuits that kind of transcends, you know, your politics or your faith or your religion or your worldview. If you're traveling around, you're going to have an interesting perspective on what the world is like.
That's one of the purposes of life, is to go and have an adventure, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's part of what brings us together here. You know, where we this for me is a new adventure. You know, with yourself, you're a new venture, firearms training, getting some reps under your belt on the behind the line instead of on the line.
Yeah, it's been weird.
Yeah. Are you guys done training for the year now? Are you guys done courses?
Open enrollment courses are finished for the year outside. I think we have one, maybe two private bookings, and then we'll be wrapped up outside for the season, and then we'll be back inside, right, with all the pistol stuff. So
Right. Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
And maybe and some carbine stuff. We got to come up with some kind of like 3-hour, I don't want to call it like an elementary class, but a very introductory level carbine class that can be shot indoors.
Sure. Just basic weapons familiarity, basic
for sure.
manual of arms.
Again, because we're people are buying so many pistol caliber carbines and things like that, and they're like, well, now what? So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they need a place to figure it out. So.
Yeah. Step one, get a sling. Yeah. Learn how to use it.
Yeah, and the safety thing. I mean, for me, it's just.
Sorry, step two is get a sling.
Yeah, just the nothing terrifies me more than someone holding a firearm who doesn't know what to do with it.
For sure, and really that's the big focus for our courses. Is they're all safety oriented. It's like, you know, once you get people living inside those 4 rules, you know, and then little things like every time your rifle breaks cheek weld, your safety goes on. Like, just you want to drill it into them so that it just becomes automatic, becomes a good habit, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. And the fact that you guys are doing that, because you know, there's Canada has a large contingent of gun owners. There's a lot of guns in Canada. People don't really know that. Yeah. But the U.S., there's a huge training industry, and it is geared towards all different facets of firearms ownership and application.
Yeah, we're the 7th most armed country in the world. So to put it into perspective for you, like,
damn.
Yeah, and there's
per capita.
There's none of that base safety. You don't get it in the licensing. And you had to go seek it out, and it's always been difficult to get. Like, you really had to want to do it and really pursue it to get it, because it wasn't commercially available to civilians on any kind of, you know, normal. You know, you don't walk into a store and say, "Hey, I want to learn X," right? You can walk into, you know, how many different Brazilian jiu-jitsu dojos and martial arts schools, MMA schools all over the country, and learn how to fight.
Yep. Here's an armbar, class 1.
Yeah, exactly. But when somebody tells you, here's how to safely handle a weapon, you know, that's almost un-Canadian to think of when it's not, right?
It's
well, I think the first time that I learned how to properly, safely handle a rifle was in the junior possession and acquisition license junior PAL course. I was like 14 or something. They said, "Oh, here's a diagram of 3 ways to cross a barbed wire fence with a loaded rifle."
Yep.
I was like, "Wow, that's it. I've never heard that before. Been around guns your entire life, and nobody told you, hey, here's how you handle this so you don't blast off dad's head while you're crossing the fence." Like, nobody's told you that.
I remember having a junior FAC at the time. It was a youth firearms acquisition certificate. I don't remember any training.
A lot of those guys got grandfathered in back in the day. They're like, "Oh, how long have you owned guns?" "My whole life." "Okay, well, here now you have to have a certificate." So they grandfathered a bunch of guys.
I got it quite young, and I remember there being an application process.
Yeah,
but I don't remember there being any kind of training that went along with it. I mean, my old man was pretty good about the safety end of it. There was a lot of instruction that went on there, but at the same time, it didn't mean much. All it meant was I could have a firearm when I was hunting with him.
Yeah, I think that professional instruction exists for a reason, and when people seek it out, I think it really opens their eyes. We'll talk to our clients, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've been shooting my entire life," and it's like, in some ways that's great. In other ways, you're like, okay, like this could be a long day.
Yeah,
because you can be wrong your whole life and still be wrong, right? Like if we call it training
100%.
scars, and you can tell when guys handle guns, they pick it up and the first thing they do is their triggers inside their fingers inside the trigger guard, and you're like, holy man, it's gonna be a long day. Yeah, this guy probably won't make it through the class. It just is what it is. You can't have it. You're responsible to everybody else that's there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different on the backside of the line for sure, but it's been good for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the reason I wanted to have you guys come in here is Kenton's got a story to tell, and I think this story deserves a glass of whiskey. So we got some glasses on the table.
Yeah, man.
If you want someone to grab some ice out of the freezer,
I got it.
I'll grab ice.
We'll pour it up, and Kenton can tell us a story. Whatever you want, man. There's all kinds of bourbon in there.
That's brand new.
Not that one.
Not that one?
Yeah.
That's worth $1,000. Stag straight bourbon whiskey. That's what we're doing. Oh man, actually
that's cask strength. That's one you can't get here. That's good stuff.
Well, it's relevant.
After you tell a funny story, I'll tell a funny story about how that bottle got here.
This is relevant to the discussion at hand here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can't go wrong with a Stag bourbon. They don't come easy north of the border. That's good. I think that stuff's about 60-70%. She's
stout.
Yeah.
It's like I gotta keep
110 proof.
Oh, attaboy.
I gotta keep my words together. I'm hosting.
It's okay. I got control of the edit button. So.
Well, won't run out of content. Oh, that smells delightful. So I guess just the story as is, or do you want funny embellishment?
Tell me the whole thing about how you bagged your first bull elk.
Do we need to go back in the timeline?
We'll do that after.
To when he shot his first deer.
Yeah, we'll do that after.
Okay.
The Q&A comes after. I want to hear this. I want to hear the story. First of all, cheers to putting one down and meat in the freezer, man.
Thank you.
Ooh, dang.
Yeah, that's dangerous. That's stuff.
I'm in danger.
Don't worry, you're among friends. So, yeah, like you said, went out hunting and got my first bull elk. First elk, I guess. I've only been hunting for 3 years. I'm not some master hunter. I'm going out with the buddy you work with, Uncle Ricky, who is, for some reason, likes to bring me along. And, go out to some fields, some areas he's got some permissions on, and basically sit and stalk. Sometimes we'll go out for a walk, go through some bush, but mainly sit and stalk it for opportunity. So I guess, what day is it today? Saturday? Yeah, so Wednesday, we get out for first light.
And to clarify, this is day one of the hunting trip.
This is day one of 3 days that I've got booked off to spend with Ricky, going hunting and filling tags.
Yep.
So we've got whitetail, muley, general elk, and I think we both got a supplemental cow elk tag for the area we're in. And we get out there first day before we drive on to the area where we're going to park the truck, get out, square away your guns and gear, make sure you're ready to step out and get hunting. So we're getting out, tying boots, putting jackets on. Another truck rolls up right behind us.
Oh, of course.
2 dudes. Oh, yeah. Hey, didn't know anybody had permission on this. Well, Ricky has known the owner for a while and said, well, I've got written permission. I've texted, the owner last night. Said all good. Well, those guys were going to hunt the field west adjacent that we were at.
Okay.
Separated by a good bush line, so they were going to giddy up and start calling, start bugling for some elk. So they headed off. Everybody said, yep, good luck, let's go. We get out, get to a good vantage point, take a glass of the area where we know there are some critters. Saw, 4 cow elk, 1 great big bull that we could see from a mile away. Couldn't see how many points, but you could tell that was the bull. He was a big, broad-chested bastard. I think we saw a couple of whitetails in the field and a black bear.
Oh, nice. The gang's all here.
Yeah. We saw more animals in the 3 days out in the bush than I saw all in the last 2 years. So
it's the way of it, though, man.
Yep. Anyways, we get up, we get a plan. We're going to go whichever way, meet up in the middle. If you see something good, take your shot. We've got tags. It's first day out. Nobody's in a rush, but make good shots, make good hits. So this bear is kind of in the direction I'm going, across the west. Well, he spooks off 2 of the whitetails because he gets moving, spooks them. No matter. It's still before, I think we're just approaching legal light, half hour before sunrise. Find a good spot, take a knee, take another glass after walking half mile or something. And this big bull that I could already tell was big, son of a bitch had to be 8 points. Like he was,
oh wow,
he had a rack as big as the bookcase there.
Yep.
Like just came up like a cage. I was sitting there a little bit terrified because I've seen elk. I've seen people hunting elk.
What are you packing for a rifle at this point? just out of curiosity.
So I'm packing a 6.5 Creedmoor.
Yeah.
Creedmoor, the Tika UPR.
Yep.
Good rifle. It'll do it.
Yep.
But as I'm looking at this elk, I'm going like, man, I'd feel a lot better with a 300, something that'll, put this thing down. I get up, I'm like 350 away. And I have no reason not to shoot. I've got 4 cow elk and a beautiful trophy bull elk on the first day.
You just got to reach over to the turret, change it to 4, and press the trigger.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie to you boys. My hands, it was like I had fucking Parkinson's.
Oh, sure.
I'm sitting here going like, what's going on? What's going on? We all know what was going on. Nervous as hell. Buck fever, kind of, not really. Just the sheer size of that elk scared the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah. They're big creatures, man.
Oh, yeah. Anyways, a couple cows bugger off. So does the bull. Everybody washes out. Go get to a spot where where I can watch for a bit. Ricky's coming up the backside, pushing anything towards. Did you see anything? Yes, I did. And Uncle Ricky is, how old's Ricky? Late 60s?
Yeah, mid 60s.
Yeah. So as he's coming back and asking if I got anything, I have to look this old man in the face. This guy who's brought me out and wants nothing but success on the hunt.
For sure he does.
And I have to tell him, yep, I saw a monster. And his only question, Buds, why didn't you pull the trigger?
Why didn't you shoot it, Buds?
Yep. And I had to tell him straight up, wasn't right. Hands, I wasn't in a good spot. If I was going to pull the trigger, it wouldn't have been ethical. I would have been wounding that animal. Couldn't take that chance.
Yep.
Well, which is the right decision, right? Because
yes.
Hopefully you're never on a bad hunt, but I've been on a few where guys made poor decisions. Animals get wounded and it ruins the day. So now that's another whole sideline discussion, but
sure. Yeah.
Good on you for looking at the situation and being able to not pull the trigger.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, that's discipline.
Yeah. Well, and that's everyone wants to tell the story. Boys, first day, 100 feet off the truck. You know what I did? 500 yards. Boom. Went down one shot.
Yeah.
That story is not always conducive to what happens. You've probably heard it yourself at the gun counter.
How many times? A time or 10, yeah.
Surrounded by bullshit all day long.
Yeah. The distance gets farther, the fish get bigger, the rat gets longer, right?
Exactly.
All of it.
For sure.
So we call it a day. Well, call it a morning. Mosey up in the truck, go see his other buddy that's got a couple quarters that we can go for a walk, look for some muley bucks, or muley doe, rather. We ended up seeing 3 or 4 muley buck because they knew we didn't have a tag for them.
Oh, of course.
That's how that happens.
Just giant bastards, too, probably.
Yep. Yeah. And Wednesday, the smoke started rolling in about noon, 1 o'clock, like really sucking in. It sucked.
Right.
So we stopped for a bite to eat, hung out for a little bit, got some water in us. All right, what's our plan for tonight? Kind of the same thing. You know what? We're looking at it. It's 3 p.m. Let's head on back to this morning's field and basically just wait for last light. If we see anything good come out before, we'll be there.
Right, and just to interject for anybody who's new to elk hunting, it happens 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, kind of either right as the sun's coming up or going down. Middle afternoon, not so much.
Yeah, you might see a couple of whitetails.
Yep.
Might see some muleys or something.
Mid-afternoon is kind of where you...
Yeah, they might be grazing in the field. You might see some deer grazing in the field, but you're not going to see
mid-afternoon,
elk
you're scouting.
out there.
You're making your plan to set your ambush wherever for the evening.
Yeah, you're socking in for, like you said, last light. So that's what we did. We loaded up, ready to go. Pardon me. And so I get to what I would consider the ideal spot to shoot from based on that morning and where those elk were.
Were you up where you were before? Did you kind of go to a similar area, or did you try it somewhere else?
We went to the same field.
But I mean, like, did you get into a position where you saw the elk before?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I went probably 200 meters in a better direction and socked in right at the edge of the field.
Right.
And was able to, you'll be proud, was able to rest in under a tree that had some deadfall on both sides.
Beautiful.
Honestly, I set up the shooting sticks, got my little tripod chair, got everything set up, repped it out so I could lay down, I could sit up, I can glass smoothly and quietly.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Oh, it's 3:30. Last light's 8 o'clock tonight. Binos are right there. Lay back, half-hour snooze. Pick my head up. Nothing. 5 minutes more, watch. Nothing. Back for a snooze. Did that for a couple hours.
I almost got ran over by a deer and a moose doing that.
Yeah, I've had my close encounters with a moose coming through the bush, sounding like a freaking freight train.
Yeah.
Being like 12, sitting there holding the rifle, just shitting my pants.
Yep.
Sounds like Sasquatch coming through there, man.
Yeah.
Man, I had a squirrel throw a rock or something. I don't know what the fuck it was, but I thought it was a deer or an elk sneaking up to like sniff my shoulder. That
Squirrels will fuck with you too.
Because when you're sitting there and it's the waiting part and you're kind of amped up, every sound is amplified.
Absolutely.
It can be a squirrel and you're sure it's a bear.
Well, and that's just it. Like, even when it's quiet, you hear the quietness of sound.
Yeah.
And that throws you off, which that's part of it.
Or as I like to call it, tinnitus. Just loud ringing all the time.
That's right.
I haven't heard silence in decades.
Yeah. So, anyways, about 6:30, I perk up. Okay, not gonna nap anymore. This is when action starts, or at least things are moving, starting to get out to the grazing area. And I'm glassing, looking around, ranging everything, so I know, okay, that tree over there, that's 400. Okay. Well, that bank over there, that's 500. All right. So I know my min max.
What kind of rangefinder are you using?
Oh, that's a
Dad?
Is it a Vortex? I think it was a Ranger 1000, wasn't it?
I think it's a Ranger 1000.
Yeah,
I think so.
You're pretty standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty standard.
Pretty sure. I know you can get them at www.bartonsbigcountry.ca.
Oh, is that a shameless plug?
There it
That was a
is.
shameless plug.
Shameless plug. My goodness.
Just in case they ever sponsor us.
Yeah, how dare you abuse your privileges?
I would.
Anyways, what are you going to do?
So I'm ranging everything, set my rifle for 200 because, hey, if I got to shoot 3, easy hold. If I got to shoot 4, another easy hold. Yeah. Anything in between, I can finagle.
It's almost like he's trained before.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I've just learned from a lot of people, and there's easy ways to do things, and there's hard ways to do things.
Sure. Yeah, well, knowing your holdovers is one of the easy ways to do things.
Yeah. Well, also, I don't want to be trying to do math when I'm looking at a fucking monster of an elk right there.
What kind of scope you got on that rifle?
Vortex Diamondback 525 56, right?
So is that a
That's
Mills?
Strike Eagle then in mill, isn't it? With the 34 mil.
Oh yeah,
tube?
Strike Eagle.
Yeah, it's
sorry.
a Strike Eagle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's everything's in mills.
Yeah.
I know MOA is older. I know people use it for hunting. I'm an idiot with it. If it's in mills, I can do mills.
Yeah, well, Mills is easy math.
Yep.
So,
Again, easy. So as I'm binos up, looking around, I see a bull elk come out from the north where neither Ricky or I are because he went up from the north side of the bank. He went up the south end and pushed everything up in the morning. Didn't see anything, didn't hear it, and nothing came out. Everything basically buggered off to the west. So we were expecting it to come out of the west side of the field. As I'm watching this guy, I'm like, okay, this isn't the same bull that I saw. And he starts bugling and picking at the peas and whatnot in the field. And he's bugling, and there's no cows responding. Nothing coming.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No cow calls at all.
No. He was smaller, but still elk size.
Just tasty.
Yeah, exactly. So I figured he was one of the other bulls in the herd. Didn't have his women yet. This other great big bull, the cows are getting to him well before the rut. So
Yeah, he's got his harem. He's,
Yep.
who knows, maybe run this young one off or what? Who knows?
Oh, it wouldn't have been a question. Like he would have just gored him to death. Like,
Yeah.
easily.
That's why you have your satellite bulls, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Always running around the harem for sure.
Yeah. So I'm watching this guy. He pops out at 350 or something like that. I'm going, okay, not ideal. Sorry, when I say not ideal, I know the rifle can shoot it, and I know I can shoot it. I've done it before. I've shot that rifle well past that.
But you're not looking to make a mistake.
Exactly. But
Right.
while I'm doing it, I know that I'm also going to have adrenaline just jumping.
So do you remember when we were in Ben's class and the whole purpose of the class was to build thinking riflemen?
Yes.
Right. So you're thinking.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that piece of training with Ben Click, that rifleman course changed 100% how I address all rifles, but especially bolt guns.
Shout out to
Absolutely.
Sierra 64 Riflecraft.
Absolutely.
Hit them
Absolutely.
up anytime. Like, if you know rifles, cool. Go learn something about calling wind.
Yeah, absolutely, man. If I think that anybody coming from a civilian background or even a military background who hasn't taken an in-depth, almost like a sports psychology level approach to shooting, because this is what builds the best military shooters. It builds the best sport shooters, and for my purposes, if it makes a better hunter, I think you're going to take a safer, more ethical shot, more likely to perform on demand. That's the whole idea, right? perfect performance on demand.
Perfect shots on demand under pressure.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So with all that being said, this is the second animal I've ever hunted and harvested in my life. Already looking back, I made mistakes I'm not proud of, but carrying on. Bull gets to about 280. I know what the call is for 3. You know, hold a little bit less than that call. And I'm hearing a few different things in my head because I like to talk to people. What's the best way to take an animal? Well, talking to Ricky, he's said before, well, if you shoot him in the neck, here's some guys, anything shot in the heart will die instantly. I've heard some people even say, yeah, just shoot him right in the head. Like, that's, I don't know, right?
For the record, I'm
I'm
a through the lungs guy.
Yeah, I'm a heart and lungs.
Heart lungs.
Yeah.
You need those bags there or you're done.
Yeah, you don't want to be chasing something
And that was
that's still breathing.
Yeah. And I was dealing with a lot of thoughts at this time. So I made the call. He was not moving his neck, and he was basically addressing me, but his head was off to the left side. So I had a good shot at the neck. So I put it basically right behind his ear.
Oh, damn.
Oh, yeah.
You assassinated that elk. Did his head go back into the left?
No. The
Hold on.
that shot doesn't happen twice in a lifetime.
Yeah. We don't know if he hit it yet.
Oh, so I did hit it. It did not have the result I wanted.
Right.
I'm shooting 140 grain American Gunner, Hornady ammo. Could be a little bit more. Whatever. Anything shooting once is worth shooting twice.
That's a fact.
Run the bolt, and I'm back up on him. And I'm waiting for him to turn because neck had not the effect I wanted. Heart lung time.
So what did it do? Did he quarter to you?
No, not immediately. It kind of looked like he was having a nervous tick. Like, you see somebody like jerks their head back a few times, like trying to shake a fly.
Yeah.
Which, not the result I wanted. He was clearly in pain and going, what in the absolute fuck is going on?
Right.
So that's too far back. Didn't hit anything that was like.
I'm guessing so. Yeah. As we were skinning him.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
risky
skull.
shot.
It's a lot of skull, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, lessons learned. So he does end up cornering, and pretty quick, actually. I say not immediately, but pretty quick.
I'm imagining this is all happening in that slow motion.
Yeah, that slow, fast time.
When you're
I'm
the guy
getting- I'm
running
getting
the gun,
anxiety
it
just from
seems
your story.
It seems like it's all happening very slow, but yeah.
Yeah. So we're shooting once, we're shooting twice. As he's turning, I go for the lung, straight over his back. And I can feel it because
Now you're amped up.
Pulled that one.
now I'm amped up. Well, now I know that, like you said, you don't want to be hunting.
Yeah.
You don't want to be wounding an animal necessarily.
Because now the pressure's on too, man. You started it. You have to finish it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Or sending rounds into unknown places where there's other hunters in the area.
It's not a good time.
yeah,
I've been in those places. It's not fun.
yeah. Thankfully, we actually knew where the other hunters were. We were basically back to back facing out.
Oh, perfect.
So there was no issue there. But yeah, definitely that's a consideration. If you're going to be doing any hunting like that, multiple rounds, look out. Anyways, second round goes over his back, son of a bitch. Run the bolt again, a lot faster than I anticipated. By the time I was closing the bolt, I was thinking, I should get another round in the gun. Oh, never mind, I did it, which is just good training. One more round, and I could feel that jerk. And I went, okay. I went for the heart lung. I probably got shot at him. Turns out I hit him in the back right leg as he was dressed off to the left. He was basically picking it up to run, and it just broke his leg completely.
So you got him down kind of near the knuckle on the knee kind of area?
Yeah, basically.
Okay, good. I was thinking you ruined that roast.
Not completely.
Excellent.
Still lots of roasts. But, like, and this is where I learned elk are tough fucking creatures.
Yeah, man.
Because he scampered off back into the bush, probably about 20 feet into the bush. into like the thick deadfall, the shit elk like to hide in, and just you're going to have a bad day getting him out. And he's not moving. Like, he is clearly messed up at this point. Because he's not moving. Like, he's looking around, doesn't know what the hell hit him or where it came from, but he knows he can't move fast, and he's bleeding out.
Yeah.
So, gather up all my shit. 3 rounds. By the way, bring ear protection when you're hunting. I cannot stress this enough.
Yeah, I know it.
Yeah, well, I learned a lesson. 3 rounds?
Plus, you're running a break on that rifle, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Plus, I'm back to the tone.
So. Yeah, the opposite of a suppressor, right?
Yeah, the noise enhancer.
The loudener.
You're like, what's that cartoon? Archer?
Yes, exactly.
Mom.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Exactly. That was tough. Anyways, Ricky hears me shooting. He goes, "Holy fuck. I hope you killed 3 or 4 critters with that many rounds downrange." Again, had to tell the old man later, no. 1 elk and he's still standing. So, converge. We both see where he goes into. We converge and I point him out and I'm like, what do I take? Because all I can see is his hindquarters. So he gets up there, moves around. And this is where we realize the elk is, he's done. Like, he is dead. He just hasn't died at this point. So Ricky says, put one straight through his neck. Said, I already did that. Didn't work. He goes, put one more. Take your time.
Yeah.
So go do that. Hit him. Did not have the desired effect. This elk is does not want to die.
Well, yeah, that's the round as well.
100%. This is the lesson learned.
Yeah. And we'll discuss bullet selection later as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Didn't have the desired effect. Ricky comes out. He's like, okay. He's shooting a 7mm odd 8 at...
Of course he is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the fucking Swiss Army knife of rifles.
Yeah, at 75 yards. He ended it right there. Which, like you said, I started it. Ricky had to finish it. Didn't feel good. But at the same time...
I wouldn't lose sleep over that because I've been on lots of hunts. I end up being the shooter a lot of times. It's no big thing. That's why you hunt in pairs, man. Because it's
follow-on shots matter.
You just don't know. Like I've hunted with buddies where they made a poor shot, and having a backup shooter, man. Some guys are like, oh fuck, that's unethical, whatever. If one guy shoots it and it starts to run, and you're on your gun and you can drop it right there, that's the ethical choice. So whatever.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't lose sleep over another, like, that's why we have hunting partners.
Yep.
Hunting solo is
a lot of work.
Sometimes.
Ambitious.
It's a lot of work, man.
Yep. Anyways, we get up to him. Elk's down. Beautiful 5x5. Looks to be about 4 years old. Ricky estimated 750 before he was skinned and dressed. Turns out he was right. We got
Ricky knows.
Ricky has been hunting around longer than double my life.
Yeah, probably.
Which is why, when he says, "Buds, do you want to go hunting?" The answer is, "Yep." How do you take your coffee?
Exactly.
So this thing's in the bush about 30 meters, I guess, through disgusting deadfall. We have to clear deadfall. By the way, it's 8 o'clock at night.
Of course it is.
Yep. We've got 20 minutes to last legal light.
And there's a bear in the area.
Oh, I'll get to that. There's more than one.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I know this girl, the area that she hunts, on her trail, on one trail cam, she has 14 bears on it that are different.
My word.
Yeah, there's a ton this year.
Well, there's just a lot of bears, period, right now.
Yeah, so talking to a few guys here, after we saw that bear, we went, did some more touring around, a couple other fields, saw 2 more bears in 2 separate spots. Mentioned to a couple of guys we see, I guess, passing through Wanham Cafe or something like that, grab a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And
You're up
did
in
you
that
catch
area.
anything? Nope, didn't see a thing. Saw a few too many bears though. Dude's like, bro, I have seen more bears this week than I think I've seen in a year.
You know what? Bear is actually pretty tasty. A guy did like pulled pork, but pulled bear. My God.
Yeah, well,
it's dynamite.
It's a pig.
It's a pig. It's fantastic.
Boar and sow.
Yeah, exactly. They're the same thing. I had a buddy who would swore by bear tacos.
Yeah.
Oof. He said it was the thing because it's fatty, right, and gamey. It's not the best flavor of meat unless you're going to really season it. But like all wild stuff, you got to know how to cook it. Right?
It'd make a good soup too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like
Never hunted it myself, so.
Well, if you want to get a tag, I know where you can kill a few.
Yeah, they're around. They're around.
They are
and more people should hunt them, to be honest with you. Like the populations are exploding.
Yep.
They are becoming a nuisance everywhere, and nuisance is followed by a danger. There's, I think, more bear attacks here in the last few years in North America than there has been in quite some time.
Yep.
Those populations are protected in most places. They're just exploding. Alberta has, what did they ban? The boar spear hunt. So you're no longer allowed to hunt bear with a boar spear. You were a few years back. There was a dude that posted his video on Facebook of him hunting black bear with a boar spear.
Wow.
And not only does it take a whole lot of balls, but it got it banned in Alberta because the video got out, and the animal rights activists kind of came around and said, that's cruel and unusual.
It was a super fucking clean kill.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's what killing something with a spear looks like. So
Yeah.
It's as clean as a big stick with a point on the end.
Well, and the animal rights people, they always, it's the gun is the unfair advantage, blah, blah, blah. Well, this guy's going to take a sharp stick and anger this thing enough that it charges him.
Yep.
And then stand in front of it. And whoever comes out the winner is the winner.
Yeah. What needs to be protected is that man's bloodline.
Yeah.
For the sheer stone zone.
And all those people, they either think that either they don't eat meat or they think it comes from Safeway. They're not actually in touch with where food comes from.
100%. There's a huge disconnect on, even what people need to eat. Yeah. People don't even know what they should be eating, never mind where it comes from.
Yep.
So it's 30 meters in the bush.
And it's getting dark.
It's getting
dark.
Sorry.
We start clearing deadfall, start moving everything that we can, get a rope tied around his legs. Thankfully, we have permission to get the truck up around the perimeter.
Nice.
And basically just pull him out of the bush. But at this point, it's blackout. So I'm there with a headlamp and basically hollering, no. Either you got caught up on this branch or this bush or
radios.
Did you gut it at this point, or you're pulling it out of the bush to gut it?
Pulling it out to gut it. Yeah. That's lesson number 2, radios. Always be in radio comms with your hunting partner.
It helps.
Yeah, there's an entire list of things I could do better.
It's one of those things when you're packing your pack and you look at your 2 radios and you're like, and I say 2 because if you're the dude, like, you're going to pack 2 because you can guarantee that your partner's not going to have the same radio on the same channel. Right. And then you look at how much space it takes. So, well, do I take it? Do I need it? The fact is, fuck yes.
Well, I'm bringing my cell phone anyways, and I know that we probably won't have cell coverage where we're hunting.
Yeah.
So I'll bring this useless brick with me anyways. Yeah. Whereas a radio...
You can take selfies with it, though.
Yeah,
true.
But I didn't.
But you got pictures for Instagram. That's something.
Ricky got pictures for Instagram.
It's true.
Anyways. So we haul this thing out, get him out and over, and like as we're skinning him, getting him ready to be gutted, we're moving around the head, and Ricky's got a puzzled look on his face. I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "What's his head doing?" I guess that round that I got on him must have either ligament or something. Like his head was floppy. Like there wasn't, you know how when you move like a limb, like a leg, there's that resistance. Yeah. There was none of that in the neck. So I'm guessing he got to a spot and he just started bleeding from the mouth lots. So got something important. Yeah. But anyways, didn't gut shot him. didn't ruin the meat like that, so that was good. But we get him skinned, gutted, and it's...
Hold on, this is where we slow the story down, because Ricky told me, like, that deer, he told me you look pretty green dealing with that. So who gutted the deer, or who gutted the elk? Was it you or Ricky? Come on, tell us all. Who did it?
Option C, both of us.
Okay. So Ricky talked you through it?
Ricky talked me through a little bit of it. He got most of the stomach and the guts out, and he let me deal with lungs, heart, windpipe, everything up top.
And how was that? Because most people are like, let's be honest, this is a big hang up for people. They're like,
it's fucking
I
disgusting.
think I could shoot something, but like I don't know what to do.
Oh yeah, first step, you start cutting it around the anus.
Yeah.
Right away, people are like, "What the fuck?"
Like what?
Don't cut off his junk. You need to identify that at the butcher. And
like I got I got all kinds of funny stories. Me and my good buddy Robbie, who I grew up with, he's my hunting partner.
Yeah.
Like we've been on so many ridiculous hunts. There's so many stories. We'll have to get him on here one day and just talk about hunting stories.
Fucking A.
Please do.
But like I distinctly remember, like we're young, we're in our 20s, and we're learning this stuff, and he's like, okay, I got to cut around the pecker. And he's like, he's got his knife and he's like, we're both smoking cigars, eh? Because it doesn't smell that great when you open up a critter. So he's like, hey, I brought cigars. So we're smoking cigars and we're gutting this thing. And he's like, he's pulling and he's trying to find what's connected so he can whatever. And the tail's moving.
Oh yeah.
He's like, so it's like it's a serious lesson in anatomy. I still remember it because it was funny to me. And we're both sitting there. We're both like, he's dry even. We're both like trying to figure this shit out. But
there's so many good videos on YouTube now for gutting an animal, cleaning an animal, skinning an animal.
When we were doing this, it was pre-YouTube. Like you basically you either figured it out yourself or you hunted with the old boys who like talked you through it and showed you how to do it. So
and
that's like just the way I learned was it the easy way, right? Like looking at some of these videos now where they're taking down a deer or an elk, getting it cleaned and skinned in relatively short order.
Oh, geez.
And they're packing it out, right? And I'm like, oh, man, like we were doing everything the long way, the hard way.
And even like guys are showing the gutless method where you're not even pulling the guts out. You're pulling the quarters off and you're done. And it's so quick.
Yeah, you're just taking the primals and away you go.
Yeah, so.
Which is a lot easier to do in the daytime.
It is 100%, man. There's nothing worse. Like I told you about that last moose trip. Like it's oh cool. It's 1 a.m. and we got headlamps and like it's not fun, man.
Yeah. So Ricky, being an older gentleman, is doing his work, and he's in the. It is now dark. We need to get this thing to the butcher. Mm-hmm. So he's not in a teaching mood or mindset, which is fine.
Get her done.
Yeah, get her done. Okay, what can I do?
Get out of the way, buds. Hold the leg.
Yeah, a little bit. Hold the leg and start skinning here.
That's my job. Hold the leg.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we get her done. We get her all carved out. Yeah, you're right. Reaching in there, pulling out the heart and the lungs and the windpipe. Yeah, there was a couple moments that I had to get over myself fairly quickly. Step number one, well, I can say that for a lot of things. If you're going to go hunting, expect that you're going to be elbow deep in a warm, wet body. Yeah. Like that is the goal when you set out hunting.
Yeah.
You're going to kill and you're going to harvest meat.
Well, it's really part of the whole process. Like the old saying is the work begins when the shooting stops. The shooting's the easy part, generally speaking. Like I'm not saying that the shooting's no, I'm saying the shooting's the easy part. Yeah. It doesn't take much to run the bolt and press the trigger.
Very true.
Yeah, especially if you, like the way you guys are doing it, you're not in a situation where you're bringing an animal back somewhere where you're going to hang it up and gut it from a stand or something like that. Like, yeah, when you're doing it on the ground, that's
a lot of work.
Yeah.
So we get her done, get skinning, get gutting. So we've got everything off the head, rack and all. And so Ricky's just standing there for a second. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Tell me what you're thinking. He goes, well, do you think you can pick up the hindquarters? And I'm like, do I think I can? Okay, well, you just told me this thing's 750.
Divided by 4.
Yeah. Like, so I just, quick math, I'm like, well, I'm going to try because the old boy asked. Guess what? If there's an old guy there that you're hunting with, you are the muscle.
That's so when Ricky's like, "Hey, buds, you want to go hunting?"
Oh, I know why you got me.
Yeah, well, and there's the answer
Stuff
too,
with my
where
good
you've
looks.
got guys like Cam Haines and Joe Rogan who are in the gym constantly and they're straight jacked.
Yeah.
For that hunt, right?
Exactly, because you don't know what you're going to come up against, and you are going to have to pack out that meat. You're going to have to move that animal. You're going after something that's
You might
3 times your body weight, if not more, like 4 times your body weight. Like
you're looking at 5 trips minimum if you're doing it old school too. You're like
Yep.
1 trip for each quarter plus the head.
Yep.
Keeping it. Like it's a lot of work.
Yep.
absolutely, man, pays to be in shape.
So, took a look, tried, couldn't get good purchase on anything because we just skinned it.
A little slippery.
Yeah, a little bit. And
Game bags.
negative. He had a rope and some boards that he had to pull into the back of the truck. So
Oh, he's got this new truck too. So there's no winch in this new truck? Is there a winch?
there's no winch in this truck.
Okay, so the old truck had a winch in the back. So as long as you were near the truck, you just
All those old dudes I know that hunt, they got a winch mounted and either up in the headache rack or in the box.
I'll bet you there's a winch in there not too long from now.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
exactly.
Because I asked him, I said, Ricky, where's your winch? Well, I sold it with the other truck. I'm like, okay. So he said, do you think you could pull the entire thing up into the tailgate? I looked at it and I'm like, let's just cut it in half. Like, let's just hind quarter it. We'll do that. And he's like, okay, that works. So we get the saw. And the old boy's almost got a tear in his eye because he's like, I'm cutting through the back straps, buds.
It's the tastiest part.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm like,
I was envisioning you guys going at it with an axe myself and just thinking, oh my goodness.
not me, not this guy.
They're not savages. Come on.
Well, you got to use what you got, right?
Well, we can hacksaw.
Yeah.
But knives and hacksaws. Anyways, back straps and 2 pieces each now, whatever. Got her up there, put the head on. He's got a tonneau cover. So he's like, oh, everything will fit under the cover. Not with that rack. Plus everything. So it's probably 10:30, and he calls his the guy that he takes all of his stuff to, the butcher, and says, hey, we're coming to you. We'll be there in 25 or less. Okay, sounds good. We'll see. We'll have to make room in the cooler.
Yeah, apparently we won't talk about who those guys are.
Absolutely.
But those guys are backed up until December now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there and a lot of animals moving around from what I hear.
Yeah. And so they make some space for us. They get us in. Thankfully, they were waiting up for one more guy, and they were closing the door. They weren't going to be answering the phone. So he's like, you know what? It's a good time you came. All right. And this is 2 days into the legal season. This is the 19th. Season's open.
Rifle season. Bow
Rifle
season was open before, so they would have had a bunch of traffic from that.
So we pile out from the butcher at, say, 11:10, quarter after, and find out that that butcher now does skulls, cleaning and bleaching.
So you get a euro amount out of that?
Got a euro amount out of that.
Nice.
But yeah, I think that carcass, dressed and ready to go on the hooks, was $385. I think 5x5 4-year-old elk.
Mm-hmm.
So today you were out at like the brick trying to find a freezer.
Oh no! My ego is much larger than it should be. So after that first year, I went out with Ricky and I took a little 2-spiker buck. I went, well, dang, next season I need to buy me a second freezer because I'm going to be out more. I'm going to be hunting more.
Smart man.
Yeah.
Guess which year I got skunked?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I've got a second freezer, cleaned and ready to go at the new place, and that'll be for any excess that we get. If we get some more whitetails, another cow elk, something like that. But I actually went out today around noon. They called me 2 days later. Yep, your elk's ready.
Nice.
That was not what I was expecting. So went out there, shook some hands, got the mount. I'm like, man, how busy are you guys? And he said the same thing, backed up way back. I'm like, so if I can't bring it to you guys, what do you recommend I do? And I guess there's a few butchers that have closed up shop for one reason or another. I'm not sure. But he said, you know what? If you can hang it for a day somewhere cool in a shed or something like that, it's getting cool enough. You should be able to do that. Talking to Ricky, he says, get a table, get a knife. Might not be pretty, but hey, might have to do it ourselves.
Yeah, to do a deer isn't really a big deal.
No, I would throw out there, like, if somebody is looking at, I haven't hunted in years, but I've kind of tried my hand at cow cuts and pork cuts and stuff like that. The couple of guys called the Bearded Butchers.
Yeah.
Those guys have some fantastic videos on YouTube on breaking everything down. They know their stuff, and they do everything from they've got a deer, like breaking down, side of beef, all that stuff. Yeah. So, there's a lot of videos out there, but those guys, I've watched a good bit of their stuff. Really, really informative stuff. So,
dang, I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, for sure. If you go to do it on your own, man, like I said, there's a lot out there, but those guys have really good instructional videos. Very professional.
Awesome. Yeah. That'll be good to see.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll catch up.
Thanks, bro.
Only thing I have to say is, yeah, that's third year out, second animal I ever took. I'm not a professional. Anyone that's been hunting for any length of time will probably listen to that and punch holes in it and say you did this.
Oh, fuck wrong. Those guys. What drove you to want to hunt? Like I know it drove me when I was younger. But like we're almost 2 decades apart. There's almost 20 years separating us. So like my Generation X hunting was no real, no surprise, but why?
I have never really thought about that. I mean, I guess I've listened to some podcasts.
Right.
Rogan has on Ranella, and you hear these guys going out on these elk hunts.
He's got his Meat Eater show. It's a badass show.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think at one point, I was talking about it, and either my mom or my sister was like, oh, well, yeah, didn't your dad, like I call him the old man, not that close, but didn't he used to hunt? Oh, yeah, shit. When we were kids, he would frequently be out in the bush and get back after we went to school. He was a bow hunter and never took me out. I was like, that's a little weird. I mean, tried my hand at a compound bow and went, I don't like this. I was 11. I didn't like a lot of things.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and that's like, for me, a lot of my hunting experience comes, like, I grew up in a national park, so it wasn't like, trust me, if I could have shot an elk from my front door, I would have fucking loved it, because those things are a nuisance where I grew up.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have to, have a blood vendetta against elk I have to settle. But it was a thing where we would go out, like we would travel to hunt, off straight right up in the area where you are.
Yes, sir.
We'd drive from Jasper, Alberta, drive up to Grande Prairie, and then head north,
aim for the Saddle Hills
or northwest.
Yep.
We got elk tags up in Red Earth, moose tags up in Red Earth one time.
Oh, jeez.
The giant goose egg, but yeah, like for somebody who didn't have hunting, with the family, or with your dad didn't take you out, kind of, what was it like? Kind of a similar question, like, what was it that attracted you to the idea of hunting? Was it putting food in the freezer? Was it the contest? Is it the act? Was it just?
Yeah.
He's a fucking Viking and he wants red meat. Like, what is it?
That too. I think it was the sort of a realization that, like, when I went to school, there were a lot of guys that were hunting. Like, there were a lot of guys that would show up with blood on their pants, whatever.
Yeah, because you went to school in
7 different ways.
Like where did you go to school? Beaver Lodge. Okay.
Beaver Lodge is where I graduated from.
Okay.
But you'd see guys take off at, noon. They'd miss last class. Why? Because they were getting out to the blind, or they're getting out to the quarter, taking off. I don't know. It's sort of a realization that, like, I didn't have that experience. And, I think it was COVID. Like, looking around and people were panicking.
Right.
Going, oh, shit, where's this coming from?
How are we going to eat?
Exactly.
Costco might get shut down.
Yeah, there's no toilet paper. What are we going to do?
And I think I started looking around and going like, okay, well, hunting is, I'm not going to say accessible, but if you know how to shoot accurately and you know a couple of old boys that know how to hunt, it's pretty accessible for kids up here, or youth, I guess.
There are a few places in the world where it's more accessible than here.
Exactly. Like, for where we live, it would be dumb for me not to capitalize on the people, the opportunity, and the area to just get out. I don't know what I'm doing. Perfect. Get a couple animals down, learn how to skin them.
Right.
Well, I think it certainly checks some boxes as far as getting into, I don't want to dive into like the whole spirituality, but like it helps to know where food comes from, right? Like we're a few, it wasn't that many generations ago where everybody was raised on a farm and they did their own butchering and they understood, food supply,
Absolutely.
food chain. Like how does this all work? And it's I get it, man. Even for me, like I hunted for, I haven't been out for a couple of years, but I hunted for about 20 years. And, it's immensely satisfying to be able to go and get food with your own 2 hands.
Yep.
Or 4 hands or 6 hands, whoever's in your hunting party. There's a lot to be said for a hunting party. And I don't mean like a hunting party like the guys that go, they go to hunting camp and they fucking drink for 3 weeks and don't shoot anything. I mean like hunting party, like a war party where you're out and you're going to get something.
Yeah, exactly.
You're all going to participate. And then at the end you have this thing. You went on this adventure and you got something to show for it. And you're learning the entire time, like whether you're learning how to stalk, you're learning about
wind direction,
wind direction, how to set up that ambush, where you need to be, how to pull off a successful hunt.
Yep.
Yeah. What gear works, what doesn't
all
work.
the equipment that goes
what
with it.
whiz bang thing you bought that broke the first 10 minutes you were out in the field.
Jesus.
Yeah. Would you say that all of the gear you got at? No, just kidding. Where did you buy it all?
I'm gonna email Mike tomorrow. Yeah. So I guess the other question is for somebody who didn't have a background in it, because I know obviously we're all friends and we train martial arts together, we shoot together, so you got that background. It's not like you're new to guns and all that kind of stuff. But did you find it intimidating to like trying to find someone to teach you? Did you find the concept of trying to find a mentor? Because that's one of the big things I've heard from people who want to break into hunting, younger people or people who maybe they're living in an urban, coming from an urban background, and they're coming out to a place like Grande Prairie or surrounding area, and man, I would love to get into hunting. I just don't know how to break that knowledge barrier. Right?
Yeah, I could see where that would be. Like I know for myself personally, like man, I would love to take you hunting, but like for me, like I've killed so many things now. Like I just don't have the desire to hunt anymore, or to. Not that I ever really had this desire to kill, but I'd be just as happy hunting with a camera, but that doesn't put meat in the freezer.
Well,
Sure,
you also
yeah.
don't have the shoulders to hunt right now, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
There's that.
I would have hunted this year. I'm definitely hunting next year.
Yeah, I haven't in years. I've kind of been. Last year, I kind of got everything set up.
Yep.
And then this year, lots of other things kind of stacked up. This podcast being one of them. But it just kind of, especially seeing the picture with your kill, which we'll definitely have when this thing goes live. It is one of those things that drives, and it's that that idea of community should be self-sustaining. Mm-hmm. And if the community knows how to hunt, if there's people in your circle, in your family, in your community, your extended family, that have the skills to do that, that have the ability to do that, and have the desire to do that, I feel that your group and your family and your community are stronger.
Absolutely. It's not a skill that should perish.
No.
We're not that many generations, removed from that what is it, the hand to mouth existence.
Well, no, like even like my mom, talking to her, she comes from like a family of 10. They were fairly poor down in Central Alberta, and they had to hunt. They raised their own, a few cattle, chickens, pigs, big garden, feed 10 kids.
Yep.
And when it came to be wintertime, like, town was a distance away and there was food available, but they were poor.
Yep.
Right? They didn't have a lot of money.
You weren't going to town.
So
every 2
it
days.
was every morning was get up. Someone's going to start baking bread.
Yep.
We got to feed 10 mouths. Like,
couple 3 loaves a day.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's that kind of mentality that
it's immensely gratifying to have a freezer full of meat that you harvested. Like, one thing you're not going to worry about till next year is what you're going to eat.
Yep.
yeah.
You might get tired of eating it. I doubt it, though. Elk is wonderful, but it's immensely gratifying. It gives you it gives you a real sense of self-worth. I did that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And therefore I can provide.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the next thing is to till up your backyard and put in a garden, and you're off the system.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
You got your elk, you've got all your vegetables, you get into canning and everything else. Like, this is
Canning's a lost art, man. That's the one that's
is.
dying.
That's actually the next thing I want to get into.
For Canada, we had to survive.
Yeah.
Through pre-freezer, right? So you'd have a root cellar, you'd have everything that you could keep over the winter, but that food preservation, that's part of the dying art, right?
Here's the thing: is it's not really that. It's not a big stretch. All the kids that were born in the 50s, like my dad and his generation, all those guys hunted. They all had gardens.
Yep.
And they didn't buy, they bought what they had to buy at the grocery store, but largely people were self-sufficient.
Sure, yeah.
And the further we get away from that, I think that it's...
Well, and I don't know if that's a
not
byproduct of hanging out with y'all folk, but I'm looking at that. I'm looking at my generation through, I guess, a little bit of that mindset where, like, your old man hunted. You guys were self-sufficient. And I'm looking at Uber Eats and Skip the Dishes and people. My own sister doesn't have groceries in the house. What are you eating?
Yeah, what's that doing to a generation or generations?
Hamstringing them.
Coming down the road. Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm not the kind of guy to get hung up on looks, but there's the physiologies that you're looking at, and it's you're not gonna make it. Like, if it gets hard, you're not gonna make it. There's nothing in your genetics or in the food you're eating or in your lifestyle that sets you up to be resilient in any way. And that's tough. That's tough to look at people and think, you're not going to make it. Not saying I'm going to make it, but I'm going to give myself a fighting chance.
Oh, no, we're going to make it.
Or as Ricky puts it, be dead long before it matters. Man, I got to stop hanging out with that old guy.
Yeah, you got to get him on here. Have that chat sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And he can tell you all the funny stories about me missing shit.
We're hearing in plenty of years right now.
Exactly. Back to the bear thing. So, was it the first day we saw 3 different areas? We went out here, Friday morning. Didn't see any whitetails, didn't see any elk, didn't see nothing. I chased that one bear, same one, first morning. Got into a similar hide, different spot, and basically just waited and saw another young black bear come out and just start eating, rolling around, doing bear shit for a half hour. I'm like, okay, that's 2 bears in less than a mile.
Yep.
Talk to Ricky when he makes his loop, comes around the hill. He goes, yep. I kind of pushed/followed a sow and 2 cubs. I'm like, so
yeah.
within less than a mile and a half, we've got 5 different bears that we didn't have last year.
Yeah.
Does Barton's Big Country sell bear tags?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's day 2.
That was day 3. Day 2,
Day
we
3.
actually went south of town.
Would you say, here's what I noticed when I'm hunting. If I'm successful on day 1, man, every other day's a vacation. Do you find it's like this, like there's no pressure anymore? And I don't mean like that I don't know. I wonder sometimes if it's pressure we put on ourselves. Like I'm going 100%
hunting. It is.
I want to get something in the freezer. But I've shot things on day 1. You know, a few years back, the father-in-law came up. We're gonna do this big elk hunt. And it's like, boom, fuck, it's loaded in the trailer, gutted, and we're done. Like we're 15 minutes into hunting season, and the old boy took a week off, and it was like, okay, well,
time to start drinking.
You know, so we go and we hang this thing in my garage, and it's well, shit. Now what are we gonna do? Like, we're hunting. It's like, well, let's go for whitetails. We got all these tags. Man, I didn't give a fuck at all. I was like, I'm done. We got all this food. It's more than we're gonna eat, and now I'm just kind of having fun with it. And it's kind of I don't want to say it's like a great weight
it's
lifted,
the opposite. If you take that week and it's last light, last
for
day,
sure, man.
it's the opposite feel.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
and that was my first,
especially if it's a draw. Right, you're in off season.
Waited 6 fucking years for this tag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's that draw we got in that fucking moose up in Red Earth. I'm standing in the middle of a fucking swamp, just waiting on a shot on a fucking moose.
Yeah.
And I remember we got a shot on a decent moose through the red willow in that swamp that is Red Earth, man.
Mm-hmm.
And all you heard was the bullet ricocheting off of everything. And it was
ping, ping, ping.
Really glad we didn't get that because it's just 2 of us on foot.
I was going to say, how would that feel?
How are we going to pull a moose out of chest deep muskeg in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, and I think that's why sometimes it's important not to shoot. I was hunting, I had an elk tag and I was south near Grovedale, along an unnamed creek. So I don't want to give away the spot. I like it. And I'm sitting there and there's this big kind of, you know, it's steep. It's like I don't want to call it a canyon, but like where the creek runs through in the bottom. So it's very steep and I'm sitting up top. This big bull elk comes out on the other side. And I'm like, whew, rifle comes up. And I'm like prepping the trigger. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I ease off and I lower the rifle to kind of low ready. And I look around and I'm like, how will I ever get that out of here? Yep. He's on the other side.
No winch, no chainsaw.
No, man, this is like you call everybody you know. You hope they don't ghost you.
Yep.
You hope your homeboys roll. And we're all going to be here for
6 to 8
about 8 hours.
Yeah.
Chainsaws and ropes and swearing and everything else. So
well, and that's step number 4, firearm safety. Be aware of your target and what's around it. That means the environment and knowing, hey, this thing might roll down 300 feet.
And I think sometimes too the shot's not worth it. It's like, yes, I could get this nice big bull, but at what cost?
Yeah. Oh, it's silhouetted against the field, and my round is now going.
The reality is, I still live, less than a kilometer from Costco. And I'm not desperate. Now, if I had to take the shot, for sure, man, you'd do it. But I think having that awareness of like, what will I be getting all my friends into?
Yeah, and
there's no way I could pull that off by myself.
And like you say, there's the benefits of hunting with a hunting party.
100%.
Right. So when you're putting together 3, 4, 6 of your buddies, you're going out to camp for a week, and you know that you have many hands make light work.
They do.
Then all of a sudden it's like, hey boys, let's just fill tags.
If it's brown, it goes down.
Right. And then we'll pack coolers and head back. And if somebody's got to make a run to town to drop an animal at the butcher, right on, he'll be back. He can pick up more beer on the way back. More beer, more ice. Away we go. But I guess you couldn't ask for really better weather. Nice and cool in the mornings, cool in the evenings.
I didn't even notice leaves turning in the wind. Like it was still.
Yeah, not too many flies out yet.
Mosquitoes, but nothing more than usual.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, so that was my first day of the season. Got my first elk.
Beautiful, man. Well, cheers.
Yeah,
thanks for sharing the story, man.
Do you want to plug the book or anything before we tap out here? We got to come up with a script for this shit.
Yeah, I just listened to the
Hey, you can buy this book on Amazon.
Yeah, so Children of the New Unknown, that's my first poetry collection. It's available on Amazon and www.hocusgray.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. It's all the same. It's all at Hocus Gray. And there is a Patreon if anybody's interested in contributing to the podcast. Eventually, I'd like to get better cameras, upgrade everything. You can find us on patreon.com at Hocus Gray as well. Cool. Lucas?
I'm at Lucas Orich on Instagram or Barton's.
You can find you behind the gun counter
Barton's
down at
Big
Barton's
Country.
Big Country.
Barton's Back Alley Range or backalleyrange.ca.
Yeah, slinging guns and now teaching people how to use them effectively and safely. Beautiful.
Ken, where can we find you? He's like, I don't. My shit's private. Fuck off.
Nobody his age has Instagram or nothing.
No.
Oh, I just have no idea why anybody would want to follow me. Okay.
To see pictures of your elk, bro. I'm going to post them up here, but they might want to see them see it somewhere else.
Fair enough. On Instagram, I'm at Kenton Andrew 17.
Beautiful.
He made that account when he was 17. He's like, fuck
Damn you for knowing me.
No, guys, thanks so much. Obviously, Kenton, thank you so much for having the faith and the belief in me to buy me these headphones, which had this concrete thing and somebody that I couldn't let down, so I had to make this thing happen.
Oh,
It's amazing what a little bit of self-guilt will do to drive a person to start making videos and putting them on the internet. Lucas, thanks for being my officially-unofficial co-host.
You got it.
And we'll definitely have to do this again sometime.
Fucking A.
Absolutely.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.